Stallion of Fate, an MLP Fanfic reading. 1,000 years ago, during the rise of Nightmare Moon, the time of darkness was ever present. There was a young cult whose destiny would be shaped forever on one fateful night. His name was Moonstar. The cult was only about 7 years old. He had not yet earned his mark. He had a white coat and a white mane, ocean blue eyes. Like all young fillies eager to earn their mark, he would try numerous things to earn it. He was a gifted young earth pony, whom had yet to tap into his true power. He was happy. Times were simple. Both his mother and father were also gifted earth ponies. His father was able to smash rocks and able to channel his own energy to communicate with the land. And his mother was one of the fastest earth ponies alive, able to move 600 feet in the blink of an eye. They lived in the town of Hoofington, not too far from the old kingdom where Princess Luna resided at the time. They taught their son their techniques in which to do as they did, to move as fast as they did, to destroy rocks as powerfully as his father could, so that he would have the skills to forge his own destiny and his own path. Though he struggled with his training, never did he know how much it would shape his future. The young pony had a love for the night. He was definitely a night pony for sure. He would not fear the night, rather he enjoyed its company. He had also become friends with Princess Luna, another reason for him to enjoy the night. They would often talk about many things. Princess Luna was one of the few friends throughout the village. Although Moonstar had plenty of friends throughout the village, Princess Luna was by far one of his most favorite friends to spend time with. Princess Luna enjoyed the company of those who appreciated the night as she did. Their friendship was only known to the young stallion's parents and a few of the villagers. Princess Luna and Moonstar would often travel throughout the woods and go close to Luna's kingdom. Moonstar was one of the few that was able to do so, for he and Luna had a special bond. She would help him with some of his training at times. They would often journey to the high mountains where they would meditate together. They would also go near the waterfalls under the castle. Slowly but surely, he would learn to channel his energy through the planet itself. They spent a lot of time over the years. One night, while atop of the mountains, his mark would appear. It was a wheel. Over the wheel was a powerful symbol. It was the Wheel of Fate. He was very happy to finally have his mark, though he had no idea what it would mean. Princess Luna had an idea as to what it meant, as he learned more of his mark. Princess Luna became a mentor to him, all the while Princess Luna had a dark future ahead of her. The young cult could feel the darkness within her. He knew it would someday take her completely. Princess Luna gave Moonstar a special amulet. It had the shape of a triangle. There was 2 triangles mixed in together, one bigger than the other, and somewhat splitting apart from each other. Luna also had a second amulet, a sort of friendship amulet between the both of them. It would protect him in his darkest times. He graciously accepted. He then told her if there was ever a time when she needed him, he would do everything in his power to help her, even if it meant his own life. Princess Luna was grateful for the loyalty of her friends, and told him about the darkness growing within her. My dear sweet Moonstar, you are one of my most cherished friends. Not many have accepted the darkness as well as you have. However, the night is coming when the darkness inside will take me completely, she said as her eyes became slit like a snake. Moonstar did not look in fear, but in sadness. He knew that he was going to lose the friend he had for so many years. It was a reality he wished he would not come true. He knew the reason for the darkness. The limelight of living in the shadow of your oldest sister takes its toll. This night would perhaps be the last they would see the same princess that he came to become friends with. I wish there was something I could do to help you. You've done so much for me. I got my mark thanks to you. I just really wish there was something I could do to save you. Luna turned to him and smiled. She wrapped her gentle rings around him in a bittersweet embrace, and with that she flew off, and said her farewell to her longtime friends. Moonstar walked home alone in the woods afterwards. Normally he and Luna would be talking together. This night was different. He had flashes of what was to come of her. He cried for her, but he told himself no matter how dark she became, he would do something. Maybe it wouldn't stop the darkness, but it would save her life. He went straight home instead of being up late like he normally is and went to sleep. Again, seeing Princess Luna in her dreams, though it was not truly her, as some might normally see her in their dreams, just dreams of what could have been. The next morning he woke up with a terrible sorrow. Never had he felt such a sorrow in his heart. He had been crying in his sleep. He told his mother about it. She would assure him that all would be well. Darkness is a natural order, though even when the times are darkest, no matter how dark, those who stay loyal to their friends as you did for Princess Luna will always be somewhere in your heart, his mother said. The next few months, Moonstar had gained a lot of progress in his training. He was now at the point of his speed where he was donning heavy weights. These weights were also entangled with some alicoin magic, which was forged by Luna. Weights that most adult stallions could not pull, let alone walk with. They would be strapped to his 4 legs. He would slowly be able to walk around with them casually, as if they weren't even there. When this happened, he would up the weights so that he would eventually be able to move as fast or faster than his mother. The day became night. He still had his love for the nights, even though what he considered the best part of night was no longer visiting him. He was very fast now. He would relieve himself of the heavy weights and run to some of the places where he and Princess Luna would meditate together. He then had a vision, a horrific sight. He had snapped out of his meditative state. The smell of smoke filled the forest. He looked on to see it was in the direction of his home. He rushed out of the forest and went to his home. It had been burned to the ground, along with many other homes. A pungent smell of burnt flesh filled the air. He frantically searched for survivors, including his parents. He had not much concern for them, as he knew how strong they were. Though there were no survivors, all of them were badly burned to death. He then went to begin to look for his mother and father. He went back to his own house. There was no one to be seen, so he figured his parents got out. He turned around and saw a deranged-looking stallion looking at him, holding his mother's corpse in his mouth. Not only was she burned, she was slashed and mutilated as well. Moonstar had a great sense of fear and anger. He had no clear thought. Suddenly, the deranged stallion looked up at Moonstar and spat out his mother, and said with a wicked smile, "Run!" Without hesitation, Moonstar did, completely afraid, no plan of action. He wanted to stay and fight, to kill the deranged monster that had slain his village. His instincts took over and forced him to run. Though something was wrong. He wasn't running like he was trained to. He was running as if the training never existed. Like the fear had overwhelmed him so much that he had forgotten everything except for how to run. The deranged stallion pulled out a blade and threw it at Moonstar. It hit him in the back of the leg, which tripped him. He was sent fumbling into a tree. He looked up, dazed, unable to move. He watched as the deranged stallion walked towards him slowly. Moonstar looked up at the strange stallion, wondering why he would be so cruel. "I am only doing what's needed. I am saving us from the darkness that is to come," the stallion said. The deranged stallion reached down and yanked the blade out of Moonstar's flank. Moonstar yelped in pain as the blood began to flow more freely from the wound. As the deranged stallion brought the blade down, Moonstar somehow found the strength to move out of the way. He picked himself and started to limp away. The deranged stallion stalked him throughout the woods. Well, I expected no less from the son of Noldrock. Both he and your mother put up quite the fight, he said as he made his way to Moonrock, who was still looping away. Moonstar wasn't paying much attention to what was in front of him, or what the deranged pony said. He just kept going until he bumped into something. Moonstar looked up to see a familiar face. It was Princess Luna, though she was different. She was wearing a light blue helmet and chest armor. A dark aura surrounded her. It was not the same Princess Luna he had come to know and admire. The gentle purple coat that soothed the Moonstar was now as black as the darkest night. He knew what it was. It was the darkness she had told him about. It finally had taken her over. The deranged stallion stopped for a moment, then charged Luna with the blade and hoof. Princess Luna laughed as he charged at her. She would fire a dark purple beam at the deranged stallion. It surrounded him. As Luna raised her head up, the deranged pony would levitate off the ground. Luna had complete control of him. She grinned at the deranged stallion. She turned her head to one side, and sharply turned her head to the other side. The stallion followed the motion, which followed a snap of his neck. She released her hold on the pony, which dropped to the not moving a muscle. Moonstar looked up at Luna. He was still bleeding profusely. "Thank you, Princess Luna. I owe you my life," he said. Luna looked back at him and scoffed. "I am not your Princess Luna, young colt. I am Nightmare Moon. I am she who will punish the guilty sun, never for it to rise again. Nightmare will reign eternal." Her anger radiated over him, almost crushing him. He was sad for the ones who took him under her wing. He looked up at her and could not help but see Luna still in there somewhere looking back. His vision became blurred. Nightmare Moon looked down at him and gave a faint smile. Her horn glowed brightly. She pointed her horn at his leg. The same light that had killed the deranged stallion surrounded Moonstar's leg. Slowly the wound closed and the bleeding stopped. Moonstar swore for a moment it was Luna that he had come to know and trust. It was her, just for a moment. A few moments later the wound closed, and it was healed completely. Again he thanked her. "Do not thank me, Moonstar. Consider it as a debt being paid. You were the only one that stayed by my side, knowing the darkness you would see before you is that which I would become. It is for this I give you a second chance to live. Use it well, for if we ever meet again, I will not be so kind." She flapped her wings and took off. Moonstar lowered his head as the grief of what he'd lost overcame him. The loss of his parents, loss of his village, the loss of his best friends. Luna. He tried to hold back his tears until Nightmare Moon was gone. Although the wound had closed, the loss of blood still affected him. A few moments later he had collapsed to the ground and fell unconscious. He had visions again of what would become of Nightmare Moon. He remembered what she spoke. Punish the guilty sun. Eternal night. He knew she meant to destroy Princess Celestia. The battle played out through his head, though the outcome was not clear. He could see blood would be spilt. Whose blood it was, he was uncertain. He would worry now for both Celestia and Nightmare Moon. He was uncertain about the fate of the world. Days later, he woke up still in a daze. He was moving. He sat up quickly and looked around. He was being pulled on a cart in the middle of a town. He looked in front of him to see an armored unicorn pulling him in the cart. He guessed it was a royal guard. The armored unicorn looked back at him. "So, you're finally awake. About time, you've been out for the past 5 days. Though hard to say how long it's really been, though it's hard to really say how many days it's been since it's been so long since the sun came out. Moonstar looked up to see the sky was still dark. No sun to be seen. It was as if Nightmare Moon had done as she set out to do and make the night eternal. They arrived at the palace. It was the kingdom of Princess Celestia herself. Moonstar questioned the guard as to why he was being brought here. The guard told him that Princess Celestia would make everything clear. The cart stopped just in front of the gate. "All right, young cult. You will continue towards the throne room from here," the guard said. Moonstar slowly put his hooves on the ground. His legs would burn as the blood started rushing back through them. It was like walking on pins and needles, as the blood started to circulate throughout his limbs again. "Do you need assistance walking, young cult?" the guard asked. "No, I'm fine. My legs are just asleep, that's all," Moonstar replied. The palace doors opened and let him inside. The other guards raised their hoofs to point him in the direction of the throne room. The burning in his legs subsided by the time he got to where he was going. He made his way to the throne room. The doors opened, and in front of him stood the magnificent Princess Celestia. It was easy to see how someone would become a shadow behind her. No princess as beloved as she. "Greetings, young Moonstar," Princess Celestia said, speaking first. "How do you know my name?" he replied. "Luna told me so much about you before she became Nightmare Moon. However, this is not important. Let us discuss why I brought you here. As you know, my sister Luna has surrendered to the darkness. As a result, I am not able to rise the sun as I normally do." "So why am I here, Princess?" Moonstar asked. "It is simple," Celestia replied. "You are one of Luna's closest companions. That amulet around your neck is a symbol of how much she valued you as a friend. So I bring you here to help us find a way to set her free of her darkness." Moonstar thought about it for a moment. He wanted nothing more than to free his friend from the darkness and to make her happy, to rid her of her darkness. "I will help you. She helped me so much throughout my years. It was thanks to her that I was able to get my mark. I would do anything to save her. I owe her that as she saved mine. Nightmare Moon saved my life that night. She killed the monster that wiped out my village, and she also healed my injuries. She said that she saved me because I was the only one that talked to her during her darkest times." The last statement put a look of sadness on Celestia's face. Why would she say something like that? I'm her sister. I don't understand why she would never come to me. "We could have worked it out. It didn't need to be like this," she said. Moonstar looked at Celestia as tears streamed down her face. The same tears she saw on the face of Luna. He had no idea how to react. No idea what to say. He would simply apologize for making her cry. Princess Celestia looked back at him. "It is not your fault, young Moonstar. I am just glad she had someone she felt she could trust. Though the matter at Hoof is now that we must stop the darkness inside her before it destroys us all." Moonstar nodded. The next moment a siren sounded. An attack on the palace. Battle cries could be heard from the outside. The sound of arrows being fired. Princess Celestia and Moonstar ran outside, only to be stopped by the guards. "Your Highness, it's Nightmare Moon. She's here. We must get you out of here," the guard said as he grabbed hold of Celestia and ran with her. She put her hoof down and stopped, and shook the guard off her. "No, I must face my sister. This cannot happen," Celestia said as she flapped her wings and flew off to the rooftop. Moonstar also ran to the front gate. The guard tried to stop him, but before he could grab him, he disappeared. Moonstar would then appear on the roof next to Celestia. His speed serving him well. "Luna," Celestia said, "this doesn't need to happen. Please stop this madness." Moonstar eyed her sister. Madness, you say? For years I lived in your limelight. The day far outside the much more beautiful night. After this night is over, dear sister, there will be only one princess. Or rather, I shall be the queen of the night. I shall rule as I was intended, not you. Nightmare Moon then looked over to see Moonstar. And you, Moonstar, why do you side with my sister? You should be at my side. You are of the night as I am. Join me and fight by my side. Moonstar shook his head no. I cannot, Luna. Under normal circumstances, you know I would. I would fight for the death for you. I will do so tonight if I must. You gave me a second chance at life. You told me to use it well. I will use it to do whatever I can to save you from this darkness. Nightmare Moon could not help but laugh. Then, my dear Moonstar, I shall kill you along with my sister. She then shot a beam at Moonstar. It was the same beam she had used to kill the Stallion those many nights ago. Celestia guarded Moonstar against it. So Princess Celestia would then urge Moonstar to leave now and leave Nightmare Moon to her. He would not leave, though he would not have much choice in the matter as they would take their battle to the sky. Celestia flying by Nightmare Moon to get her away from Moonstar. It worked as the evil princess began to chase after her sister, firing beam after beam until one would hit Celestia's bare back, sending her hurtling to the ground. Celestia was trying her hardest to get to where the elements of harmony were kept. She landed just in front of them. Nightmare Moon would walk towards her fallen sister. Any last words, dear sister? Nightmare Moon said. Celestia managed to find the strength to lift her head and fire a beam at Nightmare Moon, which would send her crashing against a stone wall. Nightmare Moon was dazed as she got back to her hooves. Princess Celestia would put her head down, aiming her horn at Nightmare Moon. She would start running towards her with the horn magically charged. Her horn magically charged to pierce through Nightmare Moon's chest armor. Just as Celestia was about to run Nightmare Moon through, Moonstar had pushed her out of the way, but in turn, he had taken Nightmare Moon's place, being impaled to the wall by Celestia's horn. The amulet Luna gave him would absorb the magic charge that would have otherwise destroyed him. Time seemed to freeze. Celestia had not pulled out, unaware that Moonstar had taken the place of her sister, until Nightmare Moon screamed. Moonstar! She said in horror as she rammed Celestia off him, catching him before he fell to set him down on the ground. He had a hole through his sternum. But why would you do something like that, you idiot? Nightmare Moon screamed. I did not ask for you to save me. I thought you wanted me dead. Moonstar laughed a bit. Nightmare Moon growled at him as she was about to yell at him, though she turned her attention to Celestia. As she was getting to her hooves, she saw what she had done. She couldn't believe it. She had lost sight for just a moment. A moment of rage was all it took. She was overtaken by the fact that she was ready to take her life of her own sister. Also that somebody else had paid the price instead. Nightmare Moon looked back at Celestia. Now you know why I want to destroy you. Moonstar was the only one who understood my darkness. And now he could die because of you! Nightmare Moon's eyes glowed a bright white as she called forth the dark winds to end the fight once and for all. No! Moonstar uttered. Nightmare Moon stopped and looked at him. This can't be right. This is not the night I came to know and love. This is wrong, Luna. I told you before, the Luna you know is gone. I am Nightmare Moon. I will make sure the sun never rises again. She yelled as she kicked him off. Moonstar started to crawl to his hooves and stand up. It only seemed to be willpower that allowed him to stand. Nightmare Moon couldn't believe her eyes. Neither could Princess Celestia, whom urged him to stay down, but he would not listen. I want nothing more than to set you free, Moonstar said. You made me who I am today. I owe you my life. You gave me a second chance to live. I also told you the next time we met I would not be so kind, Nightmare Moon would retort. If it is your wish for me to kill you at my expense, then so be it. I will not let some fool like you stand in the way of my destiny, no matter how much I do not like it. Now then, if you can stand and fight, then come on. Otherwise, stand down, and I will spare you a further agony, and I'll let you die in peacefully. Moonstar shook his head. I would have no peace with myself if I did not try to save you. He stood ready to fight against his mentor, his friend. Many thoughts rushed through his head. He could not find any way around it. He would muster up any strength he had left. He still had the hole in his chest, which was still bleeding profusely. She pointed her horn at him. Everything around him slowed down, like the moment when the final blow was about to be dealt. They looked at one another in the eye, Moonstar giving a slow, shallow breath. Nightmare Moon would fire a red beam at Moonstar. In the blink of an eye, he would sidestep the beam. Then, as if the wind was being sliced, he would rush towards Nightmare Moon. As he was about to land a right hoof into her face, Celestia stepped in, blocking his attack with just her wing, as if it was all in slow motion. She placed herself between the two of them. She looked on at Moonstar. This is my fight, not yours. I am the reason she is like this. I must be the reason to stop this. I must be the one to stop this. Moonstar would reluctantly back down. If you try to kill her again, I will not hesitate to stop you. Princess Celestia would nod at Moonstar. Nightmare Moon took hold of Luna fully. Not 1 ounce of her to be seen, to be felt. Finally, it's just the two of us, dear sister, as it was meant to be, Nightmare Moon said. Yes, quite so, my dear Luna. I'm sorry I let it come to this, Celestia replied. 6 symbols had appeared around Celestia. She had managed to get herself to the elements of harmony. Nightmare Moon charged her final attack, her horn glowing a bright grayish white. The two princesses launched their attacks at one another. Moonstar could only look in awe as the lights combined. The elements overwhelmed Nightmare Moon's single beam. It would send her up into the sky towards the moon. A shock explosion would ripple through the night sky. The moon had an imprint of Nightmare Moon. And there she would stay for the next 1,000 years. Moonstar fell to the ground. The wound had finally taken its toll on him. Celestia sat down next to him and placed the wing under his head. I'm sorry, Celestia, I couldn't save her, Moonstar said. No, Moonstar, Celestia replied. You did more for her than I ever could. I almost killed her. If you hadn't pushed her out of the way, as you did, she would be dead. However, she will be on the moon now for the next 1,000 years. At least there she would be safe. Moonstar didn't like that idea, but at least she would be safe, and he would be happy with that regardless. Though it would pain him that he could not say goodbye, he would slip into the unconsciousness. In that moment, he found himself standing in front of Nightmare Moon. She looked as surprised as he was, though she seemed to be happy to see him. The helmet she was wearing seemed to fade away. She had regained her purple color. Moonstar, Princess Luna said, I'm so sorry you got hurt because of my anger. Moonstar couldn't believe his eyes. Luna, it's really you. I can't believe it. He ran over to give her a hug. She reached out as well. It had been such a long time since he had felt those gentle rings around him. I'm so glad you're okay, Luna. Luna let go of him. Her touch was so real. It was as if she was standing right there, even though she was so far away. Luna let go of him. Are you all right, Moonstar? You took Celestia's horn. That was the stupidest thing I'd ever seen any pony do, she said, slapping him in the face with her hoof. It was so real, though Moonstar remembered that Luna could enter the dreams of others. Though it was likely not really her. Rather, it was the last bit of the light that she had passed to Moonstar so they could have their final farewell. So it was real in a sense. Well, Luna, if it wasn't for this amulet you gave me, I probably would be dead, he said, raising it up. Luna was surprised to see it kept it all this time. She was glad he did. This will probably be the last time we see each other, Moonstar, she said as she began to watch him fade. Luna would place her horn over his chest to try to heal the wound. This time it was being blocked by something. He felt himself being pulled. He wasn't sure what it was. Maybe it was death that was taking him. He couldn't be sure. He looked back at Luna one last time. Farewell, Luna. Perhaps we will meet again, in time. Thank you, Moonstar. I will repay you for all that you've done for me. Moonstar woke up laying in a bed. He sat up quickly, looking around. Well, it looks like I'm not going anywhere for a while. I will wait for you, Luna. He felt something protruding from his forehead. It was a horn. And now I'm a unicorn. How about that? He got out of bed and started walking towards the window. He watched as the sun would rise. The sight was breathtaking. Watching Celestia rise to sun. The hole in his chest was gone, though a scar remained. It seemed Moonstar's journey had only just begun, and so the Stallion of Fate was born. The end.